faculty and students. I see a lot of people in their teens here. I mean, they're such young, youthful pupils, and you obviously are tough. You're holding them all back from graduating, but it's such a glittering assembly of faces and professions and sectors, I'm sure, and in this very aesthetically designed setting. Compliments to you for creating this event. The name Happy Home always struck me as somewhat intriguing, far too optimistic, I thought. And it was dangerously close once to a residence where I lived. And I said, happy home? Every home is supposed to be happy. Why have a school called Happy Home? Far too sunny sounding. But then, over the years, I noticed that Happy Home School was not a brash, aggressively expanding network like certain others. And this is not to denigrate others. I always felt that in Happy Home, there is a need for that third H, which I refer to in the foreword to the book. And that third H is humility. Because what comes through in Happy Home, the more it endured, the more it grew, it retained this core characteristic of modesty and humility. When you become successful, one obviously justifiably thinks that I don't need to learn anything because my success proves how wise and obviously insightful one is. But with Happy Home, somehow, from a distance, and there's nothing wrong with distance because distance lends enchantment to the view. Sometimes it's better to be far away rather than too close. But intermittently, through people who I interacted with, who were students or parents, one always heard very positive feedback about Happy Home. And then when I was asked to reflect upon writing a foreword, I tried to explore, was there a significance between the year in which it was founded, 1949, Happy Home, 2 years after the creation of another Happy Home for the millions of Muslims who aspired for a new homeland. Was I groping for a connection that didn't exist? But it does exist. I see the creation of the Happy Home Network and the creation of Pakistan to be symbiotic. Because look at the 7.5 tumultuous decades through which these two entities have evolved in search of happiness. Pakistan is still searching for happiness. And I'm sure, like each individual is always, there's never an end to it. You never actually reach the pinnacle of happiness. And that is as it should be. But look at the consistency and the perseverance with Danish Sahib and Ghazala Sahiba referred to, with which this ideal was pursued in the case of Happy Home. Pakistan, tragically, disintegrated in 1971. And yet, the dream endured. What a country. We rebuilt ourselves. We renewed ourselves. We held on to this beautiful, precious, unique name, Pakistan. Just as you have held on to Happy Home. My God. And even though these are unhappy times, there is great despair. People say, let's migrate. There's no longer hope in this country. 24 million children are out of school. But we tend to underestimate, disregard the miracle of Pakistan. Just as we may be underestimating the importance of the Happy Home Network. Its capacity to survive, its capacity to grow. And in the remarks one heard about the plans to set up the Mariam Faruqi Research Center, the visionary approach to the challenges of education with artificial intelligence, with the future of learning and of applying innovation and creativity. I want to conclude by referring to the magnificent book that has been created. I got an opportunity to look through it about 48 hours ago when this book was delivered to me. They had to use a forklift to lift the book because, alas, it is not something you can read in your bed, and neither can you read it on a, you can't read it sitting in a chair. You have to sit on a proper dining table, and you have to leaf through it, and the wealth of faces and places and achievements that you see through. Ignore the foreword, it's written by a very dubious person. But other than that, this book is full of information and inspiration. Look at this remarkable contribution that this happy home, which I used to keep a distance from, is capable of. And I'm so glad that I've ended that distance and I've had the privilege of being your guest. All the very best to you, and see you after another 75, if not here, up there, I hope. Thank you.
Thank you. Javed Jabbar Sahab, I'd like you to remain on stage and request Mrs. Ghazala Nizami, the CEO of HHS School System, and Mr. Parvez Iqbal, if you could join her in presenting a copy of the book, the first copy of the book to Mr. Javed Jabbar, who's written the foreword. So this is the official launch of Torch. And
what a beautiful book it is. And you know, I love the fact that they've gone for black and white. Black and white is all about truth. It comes across so powerfully and graphically, the pictures, the alumni, and the notes about what they've done and what they experienced. It's really a treasure, a treasure.
Thank you, Mr.
Beautifully
Jamil.
produced. My pleasure.